Welcome to the Be Ruthless Show, where we have the conversations that other people don't, the conversations that other people won't. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm ready to make a lot of noise and disrupt things, ruthlessly. Thanks for being here today. Now let's get to it. Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I am your host, Sam Ruth, and I want to start by saying I'm a little bit off. Sassy is going through some stuff, and when Sassy or Dallas are going through anything, that means I am too. I'm like physically feeling yucky and having a little bit of a difficult time focusing on anything. I was a guest on a podcast earlier, right after I talked to the vet. And I got the phone call from the vet right before we started recording and said, do you mind if I answer? I won't be able to focus otherwise. And then did the recording. And he said, I don't know how you did that. I don't think I would have been able to have a conversation at all. And so really, really, truly, when my girls are not okay, I'm just not okay. And the thing about me and the thing about grief and mental health and this show is that I will be here and I will just tell you. And that's the world I want to live in. And that's the way it should be. We should be able to show up honestly and not have to put on a happy face. And today I want to talk about three things. One of them is something that came up. I'm doing a workshop that I have done consistently, and I haven't done it in a while, and I apologize. Relief from Grief. A lot of people are signing up, and when they do, I always reach out, introduce myself, let people know who I am and why I do the workshop. And I heard a story that reminds me of what I went through when I first lost Jim, and it reminds me of why I created Griefhab and why I do this. And I need to remind you in case there are new listeners and new people in my audience who don't know. If you don't know my background, I'm a psychologist. I have 25 years experience. When I lost Jim, I had 20 years experience. I have a lot of resources and a lot of tools in my wheelhouse. And I could not find support. I could not find help. And over 2 years after I lost Jim, I said to a friend, I need rehab for grief because grief doesn't end. And I had come a long way at that point, and I still needed help. So I was talking to someone new, not a client, someone who just registered for this workshop, and I connected with to introduce myself. And she's telling me how very new in her grief journey, just a few months, she got to a place where she's finally looking for support and she can't find it anywhere. And she finally went to a grief support group, and it was very, very helpful. She wanted to go back. She enjoyed it. And lo and behold, they are taking some time off and won't be meeting again until April. And it's like you put yourself out there, you do the research, you find a place, you get yourself ready, you get dressed, you drive there, you get out of the car, you build yourself up, you're in a room full of strangers, you say hello, you share. She shared. She told a little bit of her story, you get through it, you have a positive experience, you think, okay, you know what? I can do this. I might be okay. I can get through this day. I'm going to come back. Nope. We're going to take a break. Grief doesn't take a break. Okay. So I'm just listening and connecting, but internally my fire is being relit. I'm getting upset because there are not enough resources to begin with. And if you're going to take a break, maybe you find someone to fill in. Maybe someone else can host the meeting. I understand. I know there's not enough support in this world for this issue. I get it. But then I say, did you connect with anyone there? Did you get anyone's number? Did you give yours? Yes, I met the person running the meeting. I was one of the youngest there. Okay. I also am a younger widow. This shouldn't matter, guys. If you are someone running a grief support group, whatever your credentials are, it is hard enough looking for support. It's our responsibility. If you are the host, it's our responsibility to reach out to the people who come. It's not her responsibility to pick up the phone and call you. It's our responsibility as the professionals running the services, right? In my live show in the Griefhab group today, just a little while ago, said there are a lot of people who have joined in the last several hours. If I haven't introduced myself to you yet, I apologize, because I'm going through some stuff with Sass. I will. Please know that I will introduce myself to you. You are welcome to reach out to me. It's not your responsibility. It's our responsibility. There are not enough services out there. If you are offering a service, thank you. But please consider the service you're offering. If you don't know what you're doing, if you need some input, look at other platforms, reach out to others in the industry. If you are someone who doesn't have credentials, but you're in a healing realm, please reach out to someone who does have credentials and ask what you should be doing. I am not mocking, but if you don't know that it's your responsibility to reach out to the person coming to the meeting, it is. It is hard enough to get dressed, get in the car, and get there, and then get home. It's not her responsibility to reach out to you. There are some people who have no problem doing that, and great, more power to them. But there are millions of others who struggle and cannot pick up that phone. And they need you to be the one to do that. If you are not doing that, consider adding to your staff, looking into what you offer and why you offer it. I feel apologetic to my community for a few hours delay, right? And I have clients and have my own podcast and certainly do not respond immediately, but I absolutely respond within a 24-hour period. And I don't want it to be 24 hours, folks. These are people dealing with major stuff. So I want you to know that there are not enough resources out there. And that is why Griefhab exists. And Griefhab is in the process of growing, and I am working to get it out there everywhere and making sure people know at the time of loss. It takes work, and I don't know technology, and I'm learning and growing and building, but please share this. If you know people struggling, if you know someone somewhere that needs to know about Griefhab, share the link, share the podcast, share the community. All of my things are connected together at SamanthaRuth.com or at Griefhab. They're linked, and I will seriously do the heavy lifting. All you have to do is find it, and I will reach out, introduce myself, and help you find what you need. Someone literally just before I started recording commented, I have a welcome video. Once you join the group, you can watch the video. I introduce myself, tell you the things, what to look for, where to find. And she commented and said, hi, I'm struggling something. And I said, you beat me to the punch. You beat me to saying hello. You can reach out anytime. You can join the Team Ruthless Wednesday night call. I want people to have whatever support they're looking for. With that being said, what's the word grief mean to you when you hear it? I have been having conversations with people in all of the places, with professionals, with people in the Team Ruthless weekly call. And there are people who just don't like the word grief, who are turned away from that word and might not attend a group because of what they think that word means, because of what they think the word group means. There are people who don't like AA or NA meetings because of what they either know because they've attended, what they think it might be. There are a lot of people who feel worse. I have someone who said, I went to a meeting and I felt like using. It made me want to use. I do fine, but when I go, I feel like it's story after story after story about using, and that doesn't work for me. There are people who feel that way at certain loss and grief groups. My clients will tell you my groups aren't like that. My groups aren't rah cheerleading groups, right? We've all been through something awful. But if you ask me what type of psychologist am I, what type of background do I have, what school of thought do I use? I am a solution-focused and a client-centered focused and a heart-centered psychologist. What does that mean? I look for solutions. I'm not digging deep into your past and childhood and laying you on a couch and saying, let's talk about when you were 4. We are working on solving a problem. What does that mean? I can't solve the fact that you've been through a loss, but we can work on how to get through it. Do I have clients that might want to talk about something in their childhood? If so, yes, then we will do that. But that is not how I operate as a whole. I work with each individual and create a customized plan for what works for that person. But as a whole, I'm going to work with you for what works for you. And it is based on solving problems and finding a path to solution. And so my Wednesday night group, we talked about this last week, and we talked about the fact that we aren't wallowing and talking about poor us. We were dealt this horrible hand and life sucks. That's true. We would all agree that that is true. But what we're talking about, what now? And we're not talking about what now in the grand scheme of the bigger picture. That's overwhelming and that's too much. And that can overwhelm and get someone stuck and frozen. And that was all of us, right? I think everyone dealing with loss goes through that. And so I really try to work with people on breaking that down into this moment and getting through this moment. And for me and my clients, that can be difficult. I'm a planner. I was a planner. I liked to have things mapped out, and it doesn't work that way. And I had to readjust and learn to embrace the unknown. And that was entirely foreign. And now I love it. And so I started by saying, what does the word grief mean to you? I think there are a lot of people, and I think we live in a world that does not acknowledge things that need to be addressed. Grief is the end of something. And if we changed the word to the end of something, the end of elementary school, the end of middle school, the end of high school, the end of college, the end of a relationship, moving is the end of living somewhere, the end of a job, the end of when COVID happened, we had the end of normalcy. There were millions of people all over that didn't get to have the end of high school. There weren't graduations, the end of traditions. We should be allowed to acknowledge the end of things. People should be allowed to have feelings and discuss and acknowledge the end of things. That's a big deal. No matter what age or stage of life you're in, the end of elementary school is the beginning of middle school. That is a transition. The end of high school, the beginning of college, that is a big deal. The end of one job, the beginning of another, these are adjustment periods. And we have to learn different skills. And we go through different emotions. And if we as a world, as a culture, as as a job, as an employment agency, as a school, if we taught the things instead of dismissing them, what would that look like? There were so many of my friends that were scared at the end of high school, but that wasn't talked about. What was talked about is that we were supposed to be happy and celebrating and exciting. What if we talked about anxiety? It is absolutely common, normal for kids to be anxious about going to a new place without your parents, living with people you've never met before, having to learn how to get to classes, new study habits without people telling you when, deciding on your own. For me, this was fun. I loved studying. My brother, not so much, never studied, had a problem. There are a lot of kids who end up on academic probation, and we could avoid that if we addressed it. So what if we changed the conversation, and instead of grief being a negatively charged word, we changed the conversation to the ending is a transition and it is the beginning of something else. And for many, that's exciting and fun. And for many others, that's anxiety provoking. And let's talk about how to deal with that. Because if we address it when we go from elementary school to middle school, then going from middle school to high school will not be as dramatic. And going from high school to college won't be as dramatic. And each transition will become less difficult. Each life transition will become a little bit easier. We'll be used to it. And these conversations will become less uncomfortable because they'll become a part of life. Endings, yes, they're new beginnings, but we need to talk about them. And we need to discuss, how do you deal with endings? Not just, yay, it's a new beginning. Endings for me, I feel them very, very deeply. And if I had been taught how to do that, the ending of Jim on this earth would not have been less shattering for me, but I might have been better prepared for the fact that my sleep would be impacted. My appetite would be impacted. My focus would be impacted. My social life, my every aspect of my life. Does that happen in each change? It sure happened when I moved across the country. These things are not talked about. I was 40 years old when I moved from Michigan to Colorado to marry the love of my life. Supposed to be the happiest time of my life. Also extremely difficult. No one told me that it would be so difficult professionally. My career had never been difficult. Unprepared. Therefore impacted my confidence. These are conversations we need to have. I was always a high achiever. Academics and my career had absolutely never been a challenge in my life. And then all of a sudden, it was a major challenge. This could have been a conversation I had been having every transition in my life, but I'd never had it. So why don't we change what grief sounds like? Why is it a negative word? Let's consider having these conversations with people in your life as they go through transitions. I will tell you that I have always worked with clients who are going through life transitions. 100% of my clients. Is that what they call it? No. But that's what I do. So if you are going through some sort of transition, consider whether or not you could benefit from being around others who are going through that. Do you have a negative perception of what it's like to be in a group? There are so many different kinds, and I will tell you that there are some that might make you feel worse. Mine aren't like that, and not all are like that. So I encourage you to consider finding one that isn't. Team Ruthless, not at all like that. You can join the call if you're listening live tonight or on any Wednesday night, and I will be adding more. Let me know what day or time of day would work for you. I would love to have you. I would love for you to experience and find a group. And I don't know what we can change that to. Let me know another word that you would be a part of, community, team, that wouldn't make you think, yuck, I don't want to join that. That's a bunch of people sitting around whining about their problems. That's not what we do. And I know other places, teams, groups, what word? Sam@SamanthaRuth.com, that are not like that. I do know places that are. Again, finding my tribe and being a part of communities is why I'm here. It's why I have gotten through life without Jim on this earth. He's always with me, but not physically. And no one can heal alone. On the podcast I was on earlier, he asked me what I would ask others to do, how I would encourage them to get through it. And the first thing I said is not alone, finding people who are further along, finding people who you connect with. And it's scary, right? I didn't want to be around people. Sassy and I were out and about in Colorado hiking and like healing through nature. But you don't have to go to a party. You don't have to join a cheerleading team. You can find an online group. You can find a small group. I'm just encouraging you to consider finding others like you, whatever that means. If it's others who like to read, if it's others who have lost a sibling, others who like natures, others who have a dog, somebody you have something in common with. It's really, really important. I love my friends and family. I couldn't be here without them either, but I really couldn't be here without the new people I've let in. And let me tell you, I called one of each after I talked to the vet today. I called one of the people in my life forever, and I called one of the people who is newer, and they're equally important. And I need both. It's not an either or, it's a both and. So thank you so much for being a part of this community. Consider joining Team Ruthless. There are different ways to work with me. Griefhab is for any and everyone. It is for people who are dealing with loss. It's also for people who want to know how to be there for someone dealing with loss. Team Ruthless is a step more. It is a layer more of support. And it's like a peer, there's all the way up to working with me one-on-one. And what does that include? That is, if you get a letter in the mail and you don't want to open it, you send it to me and I take any and all stress off of your plate so you can focus on what matters most. And that is healing. And if you want to work with someone, but it's not me, I will help you find that person. You also can reach out to 988 to connect with a licensed and trained professional, and they will connect you with whatever support you need. No one should struggle alone. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Until next time, always be ruthless. Thanks so much for listening today. Your support means everything to me, truly. If this podcast resonates with you, please do me a favor and join in the Ruthless movement by making some noise and doing one of these 4 things. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Tell a friend so we can break stigmas even faster. Leave a review so people can see what you think of the show. And last, if you want to learn more about me and be a part of the Griefhab community, please head on over to the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Thanks again for spending your time with us, and see you next week.